Why, hello, and welcome back to another episode of Voice of the Rings. I am your host and guide, Zollin Ironshield, and today we're going to do a extremely fast overview of the interface of Lord of the Rings Online, what you see when you log into the game, okay? I'm going to do it very quickly, so I'm going to talk faster than I usually talk, okay? I try to always keep a normal, nice, steady pace like this while I have conversations and we do stuff. But I'm going to speed it up a little bit because we're going to cover everything in the entire interface today in this video. Apparently this person knows who I am because they are standing right in front of me. So we're going to go through all of it right now. Again, don't forget to like and subscribe if this helps you out. And this will be in one of our playlists, probably in the basics playlist for new players. So we'll go for all the new things here for new players. So let's start with the top left of the screen. That is called your vitals, okay? So we have the green is going to be your health. The blue is going to be your power, okay? Power is usually used to you expend that to attack things and use your abilities down here, and the green is if you get enough of that taken away by being hit by enemies, you'll die. Okay, moving on. There's also a little bit differences from some of the classes, like Bjornings have a rage bar in the bottom instead of mana and things like that. Okay, champions have a little of both. There are some exceptions depending on the class you're on, but overall we're gonna go over the basics of the screen. Okay, your level is always underneath your picture of your character. Your name is always there. That green thing, if it's not on yours, it is the voice chat enabled. It means you're able to, if you're in a fellowship, hear other people chat. And you might want to turn yours on push to talk or not. Usually I think that's defaultly disabled, but that's what that icon is. The top left there, if you ever see it, that is a ranking thing from the PvP zone, player versus monster player. You don't need to worry about that as a newer player. Maybe in the future you'll get something like that. Be cool. Again, you can always right click on your main icon. This is where you can toggle between getting a couple different things. The Alliance progression display and the Landscape Soldier. The Landscape Soldier is something for skirmishes that technically you can bring onto the main world as well. So that is what this is down here. You can actually like hire him to help you and things. And then the Alliance thing comes up here and you can click on it. If you ever want to move it around on your screen, you can press Control / and his little icons will pop up and you can move stuff around on your screen. And then Control / again to stop doing that, okay? Great side note. I have a whole video on making the game look good with guide and UI as well, but we're talking about the interface right now. So again, the Allegiance system, Allegiance system, there's a whole system on it, different areas. I have a whole separate guide video on that, but just know that that's how you get to that, okay? For later on, you'll need that later. Underneath that is custom character portrait. This is what shows around your portrait. I can change my portrait to what I want kind of thing. I have a bunch of different ones. You'll probably only have a couple. If you're brand new, you might have a 1 year. If you've been playing for a long time, maybe you'll have more than that, right? So you can kind of choose and pick. Underneath the bottom there is always your level is always shown. You can see I'm level 150 right there. Okay, so that's done. Vitals 1 is done. Moving to the top right here, we're going to talk about the radar. I'm going to go ahead and remove the Allegiance thing right there. The radar up here at the top right is basically how you kind of navigate the world. You can always press M for map. That's the other way to navigate the world. I have an entire video on maps if you need it. But going around here, the first top thing on the left, if you hover it, it'll show either a moon or a sun. That is showing the time of day in the game or night. If you hover it, it will usually tell your date and your time where you are. All right, so for example, it says 4:45 p.m. my time. That's for me. That is not server time. Okay, so just keep that in mind. That's a different thing. But the night, moon, and sun is showing you the generic night and day in server time. So don't get confused on that. And it says the night time is the gloaming time, or glooming, right? That is like just past sunset, okay? Now that does matter with what in-game time versus reality. So the only one that's reality there is the date and time that shows up when you hover it. But the actual moon and the one below it are talking about the in-game stuff. All right, now going around, obviously the radar has north, south, east, west. All right, so technically if your little arrow, which is in the very middle there, that little red arrow is walking this towards the end, you're walking north in Middle Earth. And if you hit M, you'll notice, oh yes, we're definitely walking north on the map, right? Because the map is always oriented north, south, east, west, okay? To help you out there with the radar. And then if you go a little bit more over, we have a little quick access to toggle wallet here on the radar. Your wallet is something we will talk about again in character in a moment, but your wallet is where your money is, where your barter items are, I have a whole guide video on the wallet if you need it, okay? So a lot of these ones we're not going to go into super detail. I'm just kind of showing you where everything is on the interface for this video, okay? The next thing is we have a little Stable Master icon when you go farther down the edge of the radar. This is something you can also find later that I will show you, but it shows you where all the Stable Masters are in Middle-earth. The travel guys, they help you get around, all right? Then the next one down, we have the world map. Opens the world map. Again, a much faster way is just to click M, okay? And also Stable Master map is always up there at the top. So just throwing that out there. We also have another thing here at the bottom of the radar, towards the bottom. It says hope. Your heart is light. So you always have generically one hope. There's a hope and dread system in the game where if you're fighting some evil monsters, you start getting dread. And if you don't have like a hope token, like think Frodo with Galadriel's file, right, against Shelob. You don't have that, you'll start getting negatives to your character. So just keep that in mind. Now on the radar, you can always right-click the radar, okay? And there's a few things that happens here. There is zoom to map. If you click that, it'll bring up wherever you are on the main map. There is track nearby quests. If you click that, it will track whatever quests are closer to you, which is the thing below the radar, this area, which is your quest tracker. All right, we'll talk about that in just a moment. But that's a fast way to find all the quests nearest to you if you want to do that. It does not matter about your level. It will choose any quest in your inventory. So if you have a really low level quest that's near you, it might move that onto your thing to do. So, but maybe you want to do that. You can also hover this thing they called filters and go through here and clear all or turn all on, and this is for the radar. You can also do this separate in the map, but we're not talking about the map right now, we're talking about the radar. But these are all the different locations and things you can find in the world. And there's a couple of special things on the radar that won't show up on the map, like for example, quest escort, quest failure, and there's a couple more. Enemies, this is a really good one. So if you're walking around the middle of the field, if you see any little red dots when this is on, that means it's a potential enemy or mob that you can kill. Mob being like an NPC monster, you know, an enemy boar, a wolf, you know, that kind of thing. Those will just be on the map. I'm in a city, so you won't see any right now. Everyone's friendly. So yeah, that's how you get the radar. Going farther down, we got to keep moving here because I want to make this video fast. We can at least. It's very important. Right underneath the radar, you have where location you are in, which is Bree, and you can see there is actually a coordinate system in this game. I'm 31.8 south by 50.5 west. I have a whole video on that if you want to know about that more, but it's very handy for getting around. I highly recommend knowing how to use that. It's pretty, if you know how maps work, it's pretty self-explanatory, but moving on. Top right here, I have a little thing that says my latency. That's that little icon is at the very top right. And some stuff kind of unimportant unless you need to know that information or stuff and like what place you're in. But yeah, it just kind of shows you some information about connection to the game. The next part is this thing right here. Again, if you do the control /, you can kind of move it around and see that this is called the quest tracker. It says it right there where I'm moving it around. So this is where your quests will be. You can always click these little rings and it will bring up your quest tracker. And you add and remove them here. I have a whole video on the quest tracker to go in detail for those who are brand new who need it. All right. And then I'm going to go away for just a moment. The next thing down here is we have your chat. This will probably be over here for you. I like to keep it on the right side, but this is the general chat. I have an entire video based on talking about this. There's a lot involved that you can use on this. A quick little thing for you to know though, this little bubble here in the bottom left, you click it, it'll allow you to switch channels to like fellowship, kinship chat. That depends on what group you're in. Okay, so if you're in a kinship and I switch to this and talk, my kinship friends can see me in our guild kinship, which are here. Okay, the say will only be people around you, and there is a setting you can turn on to let the floating words happen above your head, and usually your character will emote depending on a basic thing, which is kind of fun. But people can see that all around who are standing. You know, there's no one really around right now except for those people maybe over there could see it. Those two. The next thing is, and then fellowship, and then you can see output channels as more things you can go between. But this gets very confusing, and I don't want to go into too much right there for you guys, okay? Because that will get a little too much for this video right now. I have a very specific amount of stuff that I want to cover for you guys right here. And then the icons. Let's talk about this bottom part right here now. So we're getting there. We're getting close. We're a little over halfway here. We have the LOTRO store icon. This brings you straight into in-game LOTRO store. I do not know if you have the Steam version of the game versus the one downloaded directly from LOTRO.com. The LOTRO.com one opens the game, the store in-game. The Steam version used to open a browser. I don't know if that's still the case. You can leave a comment if you know that, but I play on the version downloaded straight from that. I have the Steam version. Well, I'm glad they have it on Steam, but I prefer just to have the regular downloaded version from LOTRO.com. All right, so now these icons right here to the left of that, these are all your inventory icons, okay? So if you click on these, this will be your inventory. Quick little thing, the UI here for you as well, right? Or your interface. If you hit edit mode, you can actually see here's all of the bags. When you first join the game, these bags are gonna all have a certain amount of slots in them. And you see if I left click and drag, I can actually move them into there and then I can turn off editing, right? And now you can see I have 3 bags that aren't grayed out. What I like to do though is when I open the main first bag, which always has the edit button here or the automatic sort button, which is very nice as well. There's also a lock button, toggle lock mode, but I like to edit and I like to put all of my slots into one bag because I feel like it just makes it easier. But you can do it however you like. If you want to organize a little bit and have separate bags, more power to you. All right, so there you go. That's pretty much how you do that. You can also search. I have an entire video. I think I have several videos on items, so you can check that out if you'd like to more details on that. Then we have over here, we have the toggle the instance finder. All right, this is the instance finder in Lord of the Rings Online. I have an entire video on this, how you can use the one side and stuff. But most of the time you'll find your group, and this is where you'll pick any instance or location in Middle Earth and launch it, all right, to play in instances. I have a whole video on this because this can get very complicated within itself, so I'll leave that to you. There's a help button here. You click that, it'll bring up a help thing. You can put in tickets or talk to people. I have a video about that as well if you need it, but really not super important for you right now. Then you have your icons here. Real quick, if you're someone who doesn't have these upper icons floating, or for example, the ones back here that are floating above my text behind my camera, all right, you will go to hit this, go to options, or you can hit escape, go to options, which is Control O, I believe, if you need the shortcut, and then go to quick slots and say always show bar 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 if you want those extra bars, okay? And then you can drag and drop your skills in there, all right? But that's just quick information for you to get there. I have a whole video on the UI stuff, several in fact, if you need more details on that. But again, you also have to unlock the quick slot bars to drag and drop the icons from your, you can drop potions from your inventory, which is I, right? Or those little things down here that I just showed you. Or you can also drop it from your character thing, which is, I believe, skills are K. Yes, they are. You can drag and drop your skills onto those bars as well, all right? But you're always going to have this bottom bar for icons, okay? So I just wanted to kind of give you that information if you need it, but I have a whole in-depth guide video on that too. But then you can put your skills in that. We also have a little thing here, which is a little up and down arrow. You see it's real tiny with a little sword. You could actually switch between a few different things, and they memorize. There's one that's for your war mount. It keeps your war mount skills here. One is your generic just sword, and one is a shield. It doesn't really matter. They just put a sword and shield. Basically, it's just different memory systems for the game. So you can see I don't really use this one very often, so it's kind of just a mess and not organized with my icons. But you can use that if you wanted to, all right? If you want to be able to switch between. Also, sometimes when you switch between your, what tree you're using in the game, which I don't want to confuse you if you're brand new watching this video. But basically, I have a whole guide video on that as well if you need it. I know I keep like shooting off to other guide videos, but I don't want this video to turn into 2 hours. I want it to be concise, just what's on your interface. That's why I keep saying that, mind you. I do have a 45-minute video on this same subject, which I didn't want to make this video that long. We're almost done. So basically, at this point, you can switch between those when you're switching between trees and fighting. So one can be like your damage tree, and one can be your tank tree. Or if you're a healer, you can be your damage tree and your healing tree. With icons, you can switch between. So that's another thing. This little button here, it's automatic. It's for your auto attacks. I recommend just using your mouse and right-clicking on an enemy to attack them. But this also helps. You can turn off auto attack mode off and on with that. That's what that's for. There's a tiny, tiny, minuscule arrow right next to it to the bottom left. You click on it, and it actually will bring up your settings options for your toolbar. Okay? So, but I have a whole video on UI settings. That button's just there for convenience, I think. Really, you could just go to settings and find the same thing. The next button, this is getting a little bit more important, is the open the traits panel, what I was just talking about. This would be your tree trait panel, how you flip between trees. I could be in my tank tree of blue, or my red tree, and again, it automatically remembers and switches my icons automatically, which is why I don't usually go and use the other thing, because this automatically does that anyway. So it's almost redundant a little bit, but if you want to use all three, just remember when you switch your tree, it's going to switch this thing down here with the sword or with the shield. They will switch icons depending on which one you're on, and which one it's memorized, because the trait tree panel as you switch actually memorizes the details right when you switch. So if you see, if I switch back to 1, you can see a couple of these changed, but not really, but this one did change. And the war mount one you switch between will not. So there's one, and then if you look at your tabs here on the left, we also have the race, your race traits, and your virtues. Virtues are very important. I have a whole video on that. So these are all very important subjects, but I have videos separately on each of these to make it a little more easy for you guys to follow. The next one is character, which is also opened with C. We have 2 things on the top here. One is outfits. This is how you get yourself looking cool. And then whatever you're equipped with, or what will give you your stats or your ability points, basically, in the game. And then at the bottom here, we have a bunch of tabs. Okay, let's just go through them real fast. Skills, which is what I already showed you, where you drag and drop. This is where all your skills will be. All right, you can always grab these little things in the bottom right of any of the tabs and then usually stretch them. Some do not have that capability, like the character does not have that. But like the general tab for talking does have a little chat thing. You can kind of change the size. And to move this around, you just grab general, by the way, and you can move it around, your chat thing. You just hold general. Don't hold the other ones because it'll actually pull them out. Hold general. All right? Got it. Good, good, good. So now that you have that information about opening the tabs, if we go through here on the left of skills, we also have your passives. Things that just kind of passively happen. Fellowship maneuvers, which is kind of an older thing. I'm hoping someday they'll update it to... They're still in the game, though. They still work. Usually burglars trigger these. Let's not go into it too detailed. Mounts. This is where you'll grab your mount skills. If you have any mounts to ride, you should earn one pretty early in the game. You can earn one through hard work. You can also earn one through getting it with the LOTRO store, earning enough points with deeds to buy them, or just outright buy one if you want to do it that way. There are some good things. I have some videos on that if you want. So then, if we go to the next one here, down in character, titles. This is basically all your cool titles that you can apply to your name. All right, like right now my title is Hey Do Marido, which is Tom Bombadil reference. So that's one of those. And then if we go to the next one here, the biography. This is purely for fun. This has nothing to do with anything you'll need in the game, so you don't need to worry about this. But basically you can type some old information here and you can have a parent and adopt a kid and blah, 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 another player basically. So there's a whole fun little thing there for role-playing. Then you can, here's the wallet. Remember I talked about the wallet at the beginning from the radar up there? Well, here's the wallet. So the wallet gives you all your information for your main money, in-game money, your mithril coins, which are things you buy. It's kind of like the currency you can buy and use for things in-game with real money in real life. And then we have festival tokens, landscape things. These are all barter items and things I earned. Green, some of them are across all your characters, and some of them are earned from certain characters, but basically this holds all of them. All right, so very handy. You could also do this perks thing if you are a VIP, which is a subscriber to the game. I always recommend you do 1 month of subscription because it makes your account go from being a free-to-play account to a, I think it's called a premium account, which means you get to keep some benefits from the VIP or subscription. The game has a wonderful free-to-play system, probably one of the best of any Lord of the Rings, any MMO, not just Lord of the Rings, but any MMO out there. But it's really well done. It's kind of pioneered the free-to-play systems for a lot of games. That's why a lot of good games have it now, kind of like, you know, Final Fantasy and like a couple other games have really good free-to-play systems now. Lord of the Rings Online kind of pioneered it because they were like one of the official first ones, kind of like how League of Legends was for a lot of games back then. Like they had a real free-to-play system and the only way they made money was cosmetics. Well, Lord of the Rings Online, most of it is just extra convenient things, but it's not at a level of like frustration, right? It's like, oh, well, that's kind of, you know, common sense. If you're a VIP, which is, by the way, still the same price as it was when the game started, which is insane. It's still like, I believe it's 14 something for a month, which is how it's always been, or you can get 3 months and it's just under $10 per month, which is the one I recommend. I have a whole video on that. But you don't have to. Free-to-play system is fantastic. But I'm not sure you can use the Destiny points. They're a little perk bonus that you can use as you earn, and you earn them by leveling characters up. They're kind of across your whole account server. Okay? Now, if we go to the house icon, this is if you own a home. I have a whole video on that. This is where you get to it. We're just going to go to that. Hobby, we got fishing. There's going to be a new one called birdwatching very soon at the time of making this video. A fun side thing. Not as super important, but it's fun. You can also taxidermy the fishing things, the taxidermist in Breland. Side note. Reputation. This is something you earn as you help different peoples of Middle-earth. Not really super important to know right now. The war. This is where you get all your information about the PvP zone, or the player versus monster player, as it's called in Lord of the Rings Online. That is up here in the very top left as the High Warden stuff that I was talking about earlier. Boom, there. We have finished the character thing. Real quick, I have an entire video on this character thing explaining what all the item slots are and what stats are and all that, if you want to look at that separately, because that can get a little confusing, okay? But a lot of it is self-explanatory except for the stats, but I have a video separate on that. All right, now we pop over this next one, the quest thing. This is the quest log. I have an entire video on the quest log, but that's what the ring does down here, okay? That's what these are over here, the quests. And then we have the next one, which is the deed log, and instance, and hobbies, and the war. These are all deeds to do in all of these kinds of things and areas of the world, and these are all tabs of different locations within all of these locations. So this is a lot. I have a whole video on this that breaks it down and try to make it easier for you guys to follow. The next one is the little people one, which is the social tab here. And this one has the following. This is people all around Middle-earth. If you're not on Anonymous, which is this button up here, I recommend not being on Anonymous. So many people put it on, and I'm not sure, like, they're like worried that people are going to inspect it, look at their armor, I think, or something. I just don't, I don't know. I feel like it's fun to not be anonymous, because then people can see you're online, right? And, you know, you can do stuff with other people. But you can see here the people who are not anonymous that are online my server right now. There's like, yeah, what is that, like 35, 40 people right now? That's 48 people. Oh, actually, there's more. Of 290. Oh, there's like 300 people online. That makes more sense. That are not anonymous. A lot of people are anonymous. So there's probably more like over double that are online. But then we have friends. These are people that are your friends, right? That you can add in the game. There's an ignore list as well, which some were just spam botters back in the day that are ignored. But there's really not a lot of that in Lord of the Rings Online. It's really nice. There's very few spam botters. I know that a lot of my friends that play like World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy, Guild Wars 2, they get a lot of spam botters, right? I understand that. And I know they try to buckle down on those companies do a pretty good job too. I'm not trying to insult those games. They're cool games. I've played them all. They're all great. But Lord of the Rings Online really doesn't have that problem quite as much. It does happen occasionally though. The Kinship tab will show nothing here until you're in a kinship. If you want to join us on CrickHollow, that's the server we're on. You come on over, come play with us. It'll be fun. Make sure you make your character on the server CrickHollow. I do have a video on transferring if you want that. If you have a really high level character you just want to bring over, but it does cost a little bit of real money, or at least the mithril coins. All right, the raid tab. This one is for when you're doing raids. It's a little different than regular groups. Don't worry about that. Raid locks. Don't worry about that. If you're doing raids in the future, that'll be what that is for. The last ones here are the anvil, which is your crafting tab. This is your 3 professions you choose. I'm a metalsmith, prospector, and tailor. So that's just crafting. A whole video on that separately. We have the little computer down here in the bottom left. That is how you get to the basically escape. Help, options, the log out button. You need to log out. We're in Sword Art Online. Maybe that'll disappear and you'll be stuck in the game forever. Okay, that's a joke. Some people will get that. And then there's exit game, which, by the way, if you exit game really quickly before logging out, just keep in mind that the logout will still happen after 10 seconds. So if you think you can just like escape an NPC attacking you, just know when you exit game for 10 seconds, they're going to still be attacking you. And when you log back in later, if he killed you within that 10 seconds, you will be at the spawn point. All right, respawn. Though you technically don't die in Lord of the Rings Online, you just get defeated because that would break the lore. So it's only, people don't just get revived all the time. That was only Gandalf by Iluvatar and Glorfindel, right? And then of course there's return to game, you know, keep going normal. And the last thing, but not the least thing, is this little arrow right here that pops up. This kind of has your connections to everything. If you notice, a lot of these we already went through. The inventory slots, they're down here. The crafting icon, we just looked at that. The character icon, we just looked at that. The social one, the deed one, the quest one, we just looked at all those. M for map, this one also will explain to you what is the quick ways to get to them with keys. That's what all the yellow things are on the right, right? Crafting is T, inventory is I, character is C, social panel is O, deeds is Shift L, quests is L, map is M. Okay, so it's kind of handy there, right? And again, I have a whole video on the map, but this is also part of the quest tracker within the map. And then you can right click to go up and left click on the little things that appear to zoom in. Okay, that's real quick. I have a whole video on that. We're not going to go into that much more than that. But as you go down here, we also have the trait thing, J, which we looked at. Legendary items. This is an older thing. Don't worry about this. It's kind of out, not really used anymore. If you're trying to find the legendary quest tracker that you do on they reset every few months, it's right here. It's under character. It's called reward track. This is what you use now, and you claim these as you get XP for your stuff. All right, so that's where you find that. And then again, if you hover any of the ones that have a little tiny arrow after their special letter to get through, they will bring up another set of things. Okay, and again, some of them is like bag. It just opens my one bag, because remember how I put all the bags in one? There would normally be 5 bags here, right? But I combine them all into one. All right, and again, settings. There's how you get the options, and the LOTRO store, which is also right here. And there's a plugin manager, which is kind of cool. But I think, I don't know if that works anymore in a game, but it used to work on the main menu. I haven't clicked it in a while. No, it's still there. You could do stuff from there. I don't really use any mods or any plugins. So a lot of the ways that make my game look really nice are just settings that I use. The UI settings are surprisingly good in this game, despite what some might say. I always, sorry, that's me making jokes at some people. I always get one guy out of every couple hundred who is like, the UI settings are bad in this game. I'm thinking, no, the guy just doesn't know how to set up the UI settings is the issue. But that's not to be mean to people. I don't want to be mean to anyone like that, but usually they're the ones being mean to us, saying comments. So, you all get that. Moving on, I'm ranting. Legendary items is what, again, not used anymore, so don't worry about that. It's a separate system to use legendary items. I have a whole video on that. The skirmish tab, this is how you get to use your character and stuff. There's another way to get to it as well. But again, you can see the instance finder, which is also down here, I already showed you. The mounted combat, this is good. This is where you'll set up your mounted horse and his skills. He has a whole trait tree and appearance just like your character does, okay? That's not your regular horse. That is the war mount. You get it around level 60. It's like 70, I think, on Rohan. Hobbit presence. This will usually pop up in the corner as an alert every day. So one thing that I haven't showed you that's kind of important is that there's a little thing right here called alerts. You can't see any because I don't have any, but sometimes it'll be a mail alert. Sometimes it'll be a new deed you completed. Sometimes it'll be your daily Hobbit gift. Okay, it'll pop up wherever you have this on the screen. I put it in the bottom right corner. So keep that in mind. That's another thing that's very important to know and have. All right. And then to finish up, we have the epic battles, which is shift B. We use this a lot. We do stuff with our kinship with the epic battles. It's pretty fun. It's a different kind of thing like the instances. And collections. This is extremely important. This is where you find the stable master, and then your emotes are here as well. Okay, this is where you find all your emotes that you have in the game. You can drag and drop these. Okay. Another thing I didn't tell you, but you can also click on this old bubble here and go to emotes at the bottom here, and it'll show you like every emote, and it'll like line them up along the screen. But this much easier to use the collection than that older way of doing it. Okay, so that's older. And then we have all of your mounts you own, and you can say, have, need, all the ones I have, right? And then all of your pets. Okay, so that's what this one is. Very handy little tab there. And then we also have filter. I have a whole video on this. You can filter out certain sounds you don't like in the game or things that are bothering you, right? I have a couple fireworks sounds filtered out because they're just really loud when I make videos. So yeah, I think we've covered that. We did it in less than 30 minutes. Yes. All right. My last video was like over an hour doing that. So again, I have all separate videos going into details on all these things. If this helped you, please throw a like and subscribe on there. Leave a comment if you have a question. I will be glad and try my best to answer it. Thanks to my Patreons. Thank you for watching the whole video. Subscribe button will be right there. Next episode's over there. And over there is a LOTRO tale where I do voiceovers in Lord of the Rings online. Haha! Have a great and wonderful day in Middle Earth, my friends, and I will see you all in the next episodes of Voice of the Rings. Stay happy. See ya.